Nice to meet you. I'm Adam Bremen. Before we logged on today, I did a little bit of show prep, not much, so bear with me, but I'm incredibly impressed with what you've done. The countless media ads, books you've written, and that's great. But the best thing about what you do is touch so many people every day, and that is the greatest gift that you can give is you, your expertise, your passion, and we'll get into all that, Erin. But I just wanted to right off the bat congratulate you and your dedication and your work towards helping the community and helping people live a better, healthy lifestyle, whether it's mentally through food. It's really impactful what you've done, and I really appreciate it. And I'm not going to do it justice by going through all your accolades. So you're going to have to talk about you and why you got started and, really walk me through that. But I am uber impressed and honored that you would give us, CanDo, the opportunity to share a little bit of time with you.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I'm honored to be here, and I love everything that you're doing as well. And thank you so much. That's my goal, is to just, try to help as many people as possible. So I really appreciate it, and I thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so I live right now. I just rented an apartment here in downtown Miami, Florida, in the Brickell area. I've always wanted to live in South Florida. We bought a condo for me in 2016, and then the pandemic happened. We had to sell it in 2018. But I lived the last 5 years of my life in Southern California. Our company is based in Southern California, and I tell people when they ask me where I'm from or where I'm based from everywhere. So I love to be in front of people. People are my passion, and it just so happens that we sell great tasting products, and we always will, that are focused on, health, premium ingredients, and things of that nature. But ultimately, we really want to focus here at CanDo and Keto Krisp on the taste and the texture. I came out to California in 2016 to help my brother rehab from a major injury. He's doing great now, but he was involved in a home invasion.
Oh my
And
gosh.
at the time, I was about 80 pounds overweight and didn't like how I looked or how I felt. And because my brother was so badly deconditioned, we couldn't go out to dinner. So a friend of ours happens to be a cook. So he came over a couple nights a week just to make us some home-cooked meals. And he ultimately is a physical therapist during the day, and he chefs at night. And so he said, Adam, I would love to get you into the pool. And so I always wanted to get into the pool and get into better shape. And so we started doing it, and I was walking by myself, doing some incredible things. I don't know if you know about me, but I have cerebral palsy and use an electric wheelchair for mobility. Yeah. I'm not going to get any worse from it, not going to die from it. It is what it is, and I'm lucky to be in the position that I am. And I'm always so grateful that nobody put me in a corner. They believed that I was special, not because of my cerebral palsy, but because of my heart and my personality and my love and passion for people. So I know that you and I are on the same wavelength there. And so it immediately, getting back to the diet and why we're here today, the diet really changed my life. I never didn't even know anything about keto or dieting and I tried like Atkins before, and I tried Weight Watchers, and just because you're in the chair, you're not burning as many calories as the next person. I'm not a super snack guy, but I love restaurants. I love food. And, you talk about it on a lot of your media outlets that you're on. You never know what you're getting at when you go into restaurants. And I'm not a cook I love food. My passion, one of my passions. I'm a huge sports guy, love food. And so I'm always eating out to dinner. And, I just didn't have an opportunity to exercise. So given this opportunity to change my diet really, really changed my life. And, you know, but I would love for you to introduce the audience a little bit about yourself. First, your name. And I will tell you that any Erin that I meet, I ultimately love. My brother's name is Noah, and he's my heart. And my sister's name is Erin, and she's my soul. So every time I get a chance to meet another Erin, it's super, super special. So Erin, without further ado, can you introduce yourself and tell the group a little bit about who you are and what you do and your why?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. And that's so sweet. And I love that. I love hearing about other Erins too. So my name is Erin Palinski-Wade. I am a registered dietitian. I'm also a certified diabetes care and education specialist. So what I do is I work with people one-on-one and in group capacities, as well as through media, to really educate people that have insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, and type 2 diabetes on what are the small, simple changes they can really make day to day to drastically improve their health and how they feel, and ultimately, long-term health in their life. So, I'm based in New Jersey. I am a mom of 3 little kids. I get how busy life gets for everyone. We're all busy. And so one of my goals as a healthcare professional is really to simplify health and to take the science and the research, which can feel really overwhelming and really complicated, and break it down into small, actionable steps that you and I and any of us can take each day that make the biggest difference on health. Because the biggest problem I've seen with most of my clients is they just try to do too much. They try to take on too much and do too many changes at once. And usually they burn out and then they get frustrated and they give up. So, I'm trying to solve that problem and really focus on what are those small things we can do that we can actually stick with that give us the biggest improvements in health.
That's great. You bring up a really, really interesting factor. It's incredibly basic and it makes sense. But I always say positivity breeds positivity, success breeds success. Conversely, negativity breeds negativity. And ultimately, we look at this big picture, say, for example, weight loss or diet. Everybody wants to be thin and looking their greatest. But for those that have put on the pounds, or for whatever reason, they feel like it's incredibly overwhelming and they feel like it's too much of a mountain to climb. So I always recommend, and you just said it, guys, start small, make achievable goals. If it's, you want to drop the carbs, don't say I'm going to drop the carbs all at once. Let's do it one day a week. And then one day goes into 1.5 days. Make attainable goals. That's the number one thing. Go ahead.
Totally. I agree with you 100%. I always tell my clients, I'm in New Jersey right now, it's winter and we're getting a lot of snow. And so I always say, think about it. One little snowflake coming out of the sky, right? Nobody cares, nobody pays attention to that. But when millions of them come down and it's a blizzard, it has a huge impact. And that's what all those little changes are. By themselves, you don't think you're doing much, but when it's a change here and a change there and they all start to add up, it has a major impact on our health.
Absolutely. Talk about some of your accolades. Talk about, first of all, back up. We can get into the accolades later. I want to find out, why are you in this field? What is your why? And you're smiling the whole time, but as I say the why, your smile even gets bigger and bigger.
So it's kind of funny because I wouldn't say I fell into this career by mistake, but this was not the path I thought I was going to take when I was going into school and where I thought I was going to do. So I was a gymnast and I always wanted to go into coaching and work with kids and work with high level athletes. And so my original major, I went to Virginia Tech. I majored in physical education. I always wanted to go into business for myself. And one of the first classes I took freshman year in college was sports nutrition. And I just fell in love with the whole concept because I was always interested in food and how it impacted my body and performance and all of this. So I was blown away with the topic. I went to my advisor and I was like, I don't know what it's called, but I want to talk to people about nutrition. And they're like, oh, well, that's called being a dietitian. And we have that major here. So I'm like, great. So I can switch. So I switched into the field of dietetics, and I was going through my undergrad, and I was going through our dietetic internship, which is what you do after you graduate. You do this year-long internship where you do different rotations in various types of medical fields and really understand what form of dietetics you want to practice in. And so in my head, I thought I wanted to either go into corporate wellness or I wanted to work with athletes. And I did this rotation in diabetes education. And I was so blown away by how just me suggesting one or two small changes and somebody taking action and putting that into place, within days, their blood sugar dropped, they felt better, they had more energy, you could see their confidence change. And it was so amazing to me how quickly they could see that transformation that I just kind of fell in love with it. So I decided this is what I want to do. I want to work with people who are struggling with either pre-diabetes or people who have diabetes and really show them how it doesn't have to be so overwhelming. I found a lot of them were really struggling with the stigma around it. They felt like it was their fault. And I wanted to change that. I don't want people to feel like they caused this diagnosis. They didn't. And it is a lifelong condition, but you can take action. It can be managed. Insulin resistance can be reversed. So so after I graduated, I decided I wanted to always have my own business. I wanted to go into private practice. So I put the steps into place. I worked with some outpatient dietitians and some physicians, really got the skill set. And within a year, I was able to start my own practice and grow it pretty quickly to help, people all around my local area in New Jersey, and then eventually expand out to help people manage diabetes.
That is so cool. A lot of things resonated as you spoke, but one of the things that I wanted to circle back on, for those that are diabetic or even looking to make a change in their diet for the better, what are some of the small tweaks specifically that you recommended for the diabetic patients that you saw quick improvements, if you will?
Sure. So there's a lot, right? But one of the things that I stress to so many people, because pretty much 99% of us don't get enough of this, is fiber, right? Fiber is this incredible nutrient. It fills us up. It helps us to stay satisfied so we don't eat as many calories at our next meal. So it helps with portion control. It helps promote steady blood sugar levels and steady energy levels. It also helps to improve the health of our gut microbiome, which is responsible for so many things, including somewhat blood sugar regulation. So when you look at the research, it's suggested about 90 to 99% of all adults in the US do not get enough fiber. So pretty much most of us, including everyone listening, probably is falling short. And that's one of the easiest places to start, is just look at how much you're actually getting and try to add maybe 3 extra grams a day. And when that gets easier, build up a bit more. And eventually we start to hit those fiber goals. But that I find is so easy because we're focusing on what we need to eat more of, not what we need to take away. And it makes a big difference when it comes to blood sugar management.
Perfect. Now, whether you're diabetic or not, you can still incorporate some of those. So, like, for those listening out there, what fiber would you recommend?
So there's all different fibers, right? So fiber can, occurs naturally in fruits and vegetables, beans, nuts, legumes. You can look at fiber like even in your bars. You have a good source of fiber in your bars. So we find fiber in many different places, but a lot of us are, we're in a hurry. We're grabbing things quick, whether we're eating out or grabbing processed food on the go. And most of that falls short in fiber. So what I would suggest is that at each meal and snack, you pick just one ingredient or one food that has a source of fiber. So whether it's grabbing a bar as a snack that has fiber, or we're adding some berries on top of your oatmeal in the morning, or if you have a sandwich, you're going to put some slices of pepper or avocado or something that you like that's a vegetable on top of the sandwich. It's just very, very small change, but thinking about, every time you sit down to eat, how can I just add a tiny bit of fiber to this meal? It doesn't have to take much, but if you do that at each meal, by the end of the day, it adds up a lot.
That's really, really good advice. And again, we're at this whole premise of, just do little things. Let me see. We talked about, the mountain can sometimes be a daunting task. What is the first thing that you would suggest to somebody that wants to lose maybe, and not necessarily lose pounds, because, if we could all snap our fingers and be thin and trim and healthy, we would all do it. but just to eat healthier. You talked about, fiber is one. What are some basic things that we can do as far as exercise to get it going and not to be overwhelmed, but do people make a list of things they'd like to do? Talk about like how to get started and get through that being overwhelmed feeling.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. So one of the things I think a lot of us are guilty of, and it's not a problem. I mean, it's kind of just how we're programmed, is that we always look at that long-term goal, right? So maybe you want to lose 20 pounds. So you always think about that 20-pound mark, but there's all these little goals that we have to set and get into place before we can achieve 20 pounds. We're not going to lose it by tomorrow. But if we're always focused on that long-term goal, we always feel like we're not doing enough, or it seems so far off, we start to lose motivation. So what you want to do is really think about, week to week, what's one really small goal that has a timeline, like that you can achieve by tomorrow, or you can achieve by next week. And it should be more behavior focused that will lead you to that weight loss goal. So something you have control over. You don't have control over the scale, but you do have control over drinking 8 cups of water a day, or putting an extra vegetable on your plate at dinner. So I always like to say to my clients when they tell me a goal, I always listen to it, but then I say, think about it realistically, how busy your life is, everything going on right now. Can you envision yourself doing that every single day, not this week and not next week, but 3 months from now, a year from now? Is it something that's actually attainable that you can stick with? And sometimes it's just scaling back a little bit. It's not necessarily attainable to eat 5 vegetables every single day if you're not eating many vegetables, but it may be attainable to add a half a cup of vegetable a day. So just being okay with scaling your goals back and really understanding the whole premise is consistency. If we're not consistent, we're not going to drive true health change. So you have to think small, like really small with your goals in order to achieve those bigger results.
Great advice. Now, as your daily business, your practice, I'm assuming, and walk me through that, do you do a lot of counseling, a lot of one-on-one coaching? Is that primarily your day outside of being a terrific mom? And we'll get into kids, because family to me is everything, and I love kids and I love life and I love family. Talk to me about, the accountability piece for folks and how you best help them stay on track.
Sure. So I wear a couple different hats in my business. I mean, right now I have a team of dietitians that work with me. So from a one-on-one standpoint, I see some clients one-on-one, but a lot of the one-on-one clients work with my team of dietitians and who specialize in diabetes. I do offer a group program too. I actually just launched it a month ago. It's called the Blood Sugar Fix, which is really fun because it's a group of people. So we're doing live coaching as a group. So we're learning from each other and that accountability piece. And at the same time, they have access each week to educational content to keep growing their knowledge base and setting goals. And then I do a lot of work, more forward facing to media. So I have a YouTube channel, I have social media, and then I do a lot of work with television stations and print media. I write articles and serve as an on-air expert. So just trying to, reach as many people as possible to really help them with that educational piece and the goal setting too.
Great. Something that I want, we talk about, I'm not much of a stat guy, but one of the stats that really excites me is the harmful effects of actual sugar. And if you look at the statistic, and I'm not going to do it justice, so I apologize, and you can probably talk on it further and kind of dig in with the scalpel here. But I have this stat, like from 2010 to 2022, 76% of folks are concerned with the amount of sugar that they ingest. Can you talk about the harmful effects of sugar? And we don't even realize it. I was watching in preparation for the show today. There are like 5 cubes of sugar in 1 can of soda, or something like that. I'm not even doing it justice, but I was just like blown away, Erin, at that kind of stuff. Can you talk about sugar and kind of that statistic and just the alarming news that's out there? And this is not to scare everybody. Again, we just want to make you aware. And then we're going to talk about some alternatives and explain, like the erythritols and the stevias and things of that nature. Can you touch on that a little bit? I know it's a mouthful.
No, but you're 100% right. So they were doing research too to even look at just in the grocery stores. I believe it's about 76% of all processed food in the grocery store contains added sugar. So the fact is, pretty much all of us are exposed to added sugar in everything. It's not just candies and sodas, but even if you look at bread and you look at lunch meats, there's hidden sugars in everything. And the problem is too much added sugar in the diet. It's not only just empty calories that can lead to weight gain, but it can raise blood sugar. It can have a negative impact on cholesterol, heart health, even our energy level and our mental focus during the day. Too much sugar is not benefiting that. So most of us get too much. Now, the American Heart Association, they do recommend we get less than 10% of our total calories coming from sugar. And what you were saying too is it's pretty easy to take in 10% of your calories from added sugar. I mean, one can of soda and you're pretty much there. So most of us already are getting too much. So yes, we have a goal in place that under 10%, but it's more important just to recognize where the sugar's coming from and taking small changes to start to reduce it. So if every day you're eating 2 snack bars and they both have a large amount of added sugar, well, let's make a change there to cut back on that. Or if you drink, 2 sugar sweetened beverages a day, like, can we swap one of those for a drink that isn't sugar sweetened? Because if we try to just count the numbers and, every day figure out exactly how many grams of sugar, it's overwhelming. But the problem is it's kind of like sliding into our foods. We don't even realize it. You don't realize that every time you're putting ketchup on, your food, that's added sugar, or barbecue sauce or salad dressing. So there's just all this added sugar, even if you think that you're cutting back or you're not having candies and sodas. And we need that awareness. We need to really read the labels and be aware of what's going into our body and recognize, for yourself, where's your number one source of added sugar in the diet? And let's start there to reduce it and slowly over time keep cutting back. Because the less added sugar, the better it's going to be for your health overall long term.
Great. Can you touch on the actual science of erythritol and stevia and what those are? People ask me that all the time, and I give, my Google definition of it. And I'm not a keto expert by any means. I never attest to be. The diet has worked great for me. And obviously, it's allowed us to create Keto Krisp, and it's been a great platform for us to reach out to so many people, to inspire people, to help people, to build this community of doers and whatnot. But can you talk about the science of the ingredients, because you have a wealth of knowledge there?
Yeah, definitely. So, when you look at sweeteners, a lot of people get confused because there's so many different sweeteners. There's natural sweeteners, artificial sweeteners. And I think, sometimes people lump them all in and they're like, oh, I'm not really sure what's better or what isn't, or is it, better for me than regular sugar? So erythritol is one I really like. What's great about it is a sugar alcohol, but it's not really metabolized in the body. So a lot of sugar alcohols, they're fine to consume, they sweeten food, but many times, and you might realize this with, like, let's say if you have too much sugar-free gum, it can cause a little bloating or gastrointestinal upset in some people. Erythritol really doesn't do that. Now, it's about 60 to 80% of sweetest sugar. So if you're cooking with it or baking with it, you can use it as pretty much a one-to-one swap, and it sweetens almost as much as sugar. It's just a tiny bit less sweet. But it doesn't really have an aftertaste. So I find a lot of my clients enjoy it too, because we're not seeing an impact on the GI tract. We're not seeing an aftertaste, but we're still getting the sweetness. And it is definitely friendly for people who are looking to manage blood sugar. It does not have any impact on insulin levels or blood sugar levels. It's very low calorie. It has about 0.24 calories per gram, where sugar has 4 grams. So it's significantly lower in calories. And it's beneficial because it really is an easy way to cut down on sugar. You can cook with it, bake with it, you can consume products that have it. And there's really not a negative side to it, but you get the benefit of the sweetness without the negative impact on health that the added sugar presents.
Great. Now, Erin, how do you tell, and I'm, again, like for somebody like me or somebody that's on the go a lot, when you go to rest, do you do a lot of cooking yourself? Do you obviously you encourage your clients, I would assume, to do as much cooking as you can. And obviously it sounds like that's a great way to do it. But talk about that, and then talk about if you do have to go out to dinner, or you're somebody like me that's single that doesn't really cook. What are some things to look for when you're at the menu?
Yeah, definitely. So, cooking at home can sound a little overwhelming to a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be, chef gourmet meals. It can really be what I'd like to tell my clients is a lot of times it's assembling, right? So maybe you're going to cook up some lean protein like chicken breast, and you can assemble it by putting it on a higher fiber tortilla and adding some sauteed vegetables like peppers and onions or mushrooms that were already either cooked, or you can buy frozen vegetables, which are great and easy to add and just put a little seasoning on. So don't overwhelm yourself with the whole idea of cooking at home or making meals at home. It can be really simple. I definitely am not a gourmet cook by any standpoint. I like simple, easy recipes. That's kind of the recipes I develop. But a lot of it too is coming down to food preparation. So if you one time a week make the lean protein, saute up the vegetables, cut up the fresh fruit, have it done, just spend 1 hour a week doing that. It's so much more likely that you're going to eat those foods and quickly grab them, because most of us, a lot of the reasons we eat out, occasionally it's social and you want to go out and talk to people, but a lot of times it's just like a quick drive through because you're short on time, you're hungry, and there's either nothing in the house or nothing you have time to prepare. So if you have the food in the house and you can quickly assemble a meal in a minute or two, it's saving you money. It's taking less time really than even driving to the drive-through, and you have a more nutritious option. But if you do go out, a couple of things that I always recommend looking for: if there's vegetables available, always try to get some form of vegetable because it does give us more fiber. It's more volume for fewer calories. Not always available, but if you can get a vegetable on your plate, I would try to do that. When it's protein, choose the leaner options. So grilled or broiled or baked over deep fried is always preferable. It's going to have less saturated fat, less overall calories. And then if you are getting a grain on the side or a starch, try to keep that to a third of your plate or less. Those calories digest more quickly. They don't keep you quite as full. And most of the time, it's hard to find a high fiber option in a restaurant. Usually it's white rice and not brown rice, or it's a refined flour bun instead of a whole grain one. So try to keep that to a third of your plate or less. And I always like to visualize the plate, 1/3 with the fruits and veggies, 1/3 lean protein, and the final third is the starches. And if you use that balance, typically it's going to give you a nice meal that's going to keep you satisfied without too many nutrients that are either going to spike blood sugar or insulin or give you the added sugars.
Cool. That's great advice. I wanted to ask you, what is your opinion on certain like diets? I don't call the keto, I call it a lifestyle versus a diet.
Yes.
Do you have any, no bias or judgments? I don't care if you love the keto diet. If you don't like it, that's great. If you think it's great, that's awesome too. What, like as a dietitian, and they always say variety is the best, and really a combination of a little and portion control, I would think. Can you talk about that and just your overall opinion, honesty, just about the best ways of eating? Forget whether it's keto or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said the word that I always look for when we talk about any kind of dietary intervention or change is lifestyle, right? It has to be a lifestyle. So one of the reasons people get so confused with nutrition is that there is research to support ketogenic diets. There's research to support intermittent fasting. There's research for Mediterranean styles of eating. There's research on all of it, and it all works, but it only works if it's right for you and you can be consistent with it. So I have some clients that just based on their lifestyle, their schedule, their personality, they love intermittent fasting. Like it just works for them. It works for their schedule. There's other people that it does not work for at all. And so it's really almost like matchmaking, right? You have to really look at, okay, is it credible? Is there research behind it? But is it the right match for your lifestyle? Is it food you like? Does it work for your schedule? Is it something you actually can be consistent with long-term, because that's the only way you're going to see improvement. So for some people, keto can really work. I mean, reducing carbohydrates absolutely can lower blood sugar and can promote weight loss. The problem with keto that we see in the research is a lot of people can't be consistent with it. And sometimes it's just because they're overwhelming themselves, right? So if it works for your lifestyle and you're being consistent with it, then it's a great plan for you. And it's the same with intermittent fasting or Mediterranean. So that's why there's never, and that's what gets so frustrating, is there's not just like this one meal plan or diet that I can say, one size fits all across the board. This is what you need to do. It's doing a little detective work and matchmaking to figure out what's the right style of eating that helps you to achieve your goals, but you can stick with without going, back to your old habits because you feel burnt out.
Right. It's just about habits and being disciplined. I can tell you, again, I can say from personal experience, I didn't know anything about the keto lifestyle, but I was so laser focused, and I started small so that I could achieve those goals. And then I just kept building, and I was adamant. People was like, Adam, you can just have one cookie. I said, no, because one cookie will lead to 4 cookies. And I know myself. So it was just, you got to have that 1-2. And where there's a will, there's a way. And we talk about can do, and, life is about what we can do, not what we can't. I want to get back to how do you know which lifestyle may be best for you? Is there a quiz out there that you can suggest to our audience? Because I was just, Gabe, who is kind of my sensei and kind of really helped me get on the path. He wasn't a dietitian, but we just started with portion control and just really clean eating. And that was, and I trusted Gabe because he helped me get in the pool. And because of my cerebral palsy, like without Gabe, I would literally drown in the pool. So there's a level of trust that I have with Gabe, unlike anyone else. And so I took a leap of faith with Gabe. Is there a test that people can take or just a self-test to figure out which lifestyle may be better for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I wish there was a quiz. Actually, it's giving me an idea now. Maybe I should make one. But so what I would say is there's a few key questions that I feel help you to figure out that the best. And these are the ones I usually share with my clients. So the first is just asking yourself, does this match with your day-to-day schedule? So, everybody has pretty much a certain schedule. It might vary from weekends to weekdays, but we all have pretty much a routine. And so you have to think about, does this fit with your routine? For instance, the style of eating, like time restricted eating, that's not going to work for somebody who's, up for 18 hours a day and really physically active. It's not necessarily going to match their lifestyle. So first we have to say, does this actually fit with my schedule realistically? The second is, are the foods on this meal plan?
Let me interrupt.
Yeah.
What do you mean by fitting with my schedule? Like, we got to eat, right?
Exactly. So for instance, there's some people that they just never eat breakfast, right? They just, for whatever reason, they don't, not that I'm recommending that, but they just don't like breakfast. They tend to just eat bigger portions at 2 or 3 meals during the day. So for somebody like that, a style of, say, time restricted eating, which is under the umbrella of intermittent fasting, it almost matches with what they were doing anyway, but now they're just going to be more laser focused on doing that specifically and having a set eating window. For someone like myself who likes to eat and snack throughout the day, that's not going to work for me. I might make that work for a week or 2, but I know myself. I know that realistically, based on juggling kids and activities and changing schedules, that wouldn't work. For a meal plan that requires a lot of food preparation, or something like maybe a paleo diet where you really can't eat out that much and you have to make most things from scratch, that's not going to work for every lifestyle, because not everyone has the budget or the time or the ability to do that. So you might want to find something that matches up where you can eat out, or you can grab a food at the grocery store, or more of a processed convenient food that works for that lifestyle too. So that's what I'm saying with the matchup, is thinking about, what times do you typically eat? Do you tend to grab food on the go, or do you have the time and the ability to sit down and prepare the meals? And then what are your food preferences? We all have some foods that we just love and we know we can't give up. And if that's the case, we want to make sure that those things can also be incorporated into the meal plan we choose to follow.
Those are great tidbits. Can we use me as a guinea pig? Can you ask me questions? Because
Sure.
I can, as we look at this, and we don't have to go in depth. I know we only have a few more minutes, but this is like an awesome exercise. So I'm going to use so just to give you a quick, I'm not a huge breakfast person.
Mhm.
Like I'll have my smallest meal in the day, like I'll have yogurt in the morning with a little bit of, we're working on a new innovation here at CanDo, and I sprinkle some of that innovation in my yogurt, for example, this morning. And then I'll have a glass of tea, no sugars or anything, just regular warm tea. And that's basically it. And then for lunch around 2, but maybe I'll split like a turkey wrap or something. And then I go to dinner and have a dinner meeting, or, dinner is actually my favorite meal of the day, which is awful in the cycle of trying to, eat as clean as possible, whether you're keto or whatever your diet lifestyle is. So coach me through that, if,
Sure. So what you're saying is you tend to, from what I'm hearing, you usually eat 3 meals a day, or you somebody but a lighter meal in the morning, heavier in the night. Do you snack much during the day? Is that something you enjoy?
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay. So for you, as far as a matchup, what you're really focused on is what you're better with consistent meals throughout the day versus those small, frequent little meals and snacks during the day. That sounds like it's a better matchup for you. Would you say that's okay?
Yes.
Now, eating out though does sound to me like it's important because of business meetings and you enjoy it. Is that something that's a must-have in your meal plan?
Well, I'm just so used to it, to be honest. Eating dinner at night is a social thing, and you're like, it's a great way to say, you want to do dinner, or, just a way to chat with people and catch up. So I find myself always saying, yeah, well, let's grab dinner tonight.
Excellent. And that's important because that's something that is a priority to you, and social, those things are ideal. So we want to make sure that whatever meal plan you pick, that can still be part of it. Because if you tried to take that out, you're not going to be happy with that, right? That's not realistic that you could stay away from eating out. So for you, looking at, nighttime, we know if we have a lot more carbohydrate in the evening and then we're sitting and going to sleep, that's what puts us more at risk of elevated blood sugar and insulin throughout the night, which can lead to weight gain. So for you, a lower carb type of meal plan in the evening is a really good match. And that sounds like, because you are following a ketogenic lifestyle, is that what you typically do when you're eating out?
Yes. And then, recently, over the last year and a half, I haven't been as tight as far as the carbs and whatnot, and I have seen the weight gain. And I would talk to you also is, just to be very candid, as we run a business and we run our daily life, and the world changes and you're in an environment, my sleeping hasn't been as great as it used to be. And maybe that's because I haven't been able to, when I was in my groove, so to speak, for 2 years, I got in the pool every single day. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I really, really, really enjoyed. And I'm not complaining, but because of the environment that I'm in on the road, helping to build a brand and share our story, I haven't had the opportunity to focus on exercise and fitness the way that I want or need. So, you're going out to dinners and subsequently, I've put weight back on. I'm not where I was as far as weight, as heavy as I was, but I'm not as thin as I was either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you made a good point there. Sleep plays a huge role. I talk to my clients about this all the time because we're really, for most people, they've even done research on this in the last 3 years with the pandemic and the stress. People's sleep is declining, and it's about 70 million people in our country suffer from some kind of sleep disorder. So sleep, which is really crazy, is just one night of poor sleep. They've found in research, you eat as much as 550 more calories the next day because your body is craving more simple energy, more carbohydrates, high fat foods. And those satiety hormones that our gut releases when we eat, things like leptin tell us we're satisfied and full and we stop eating. they get suppressed. So you're actually hungrier after just one night of poor sleep, not to mention you have less energy, so you're probably less active. Like it's all this, vicious cycle. So for you, if that's something that you've been noticing as a change, prioritizing sleep over anything else is probably going to be the number one way to start seeing the weight go back down.
Yeah, it's interesting that we talk about sleeping. It's absolutely critical, because if you're not sleeping, it throws a. What are some of the tidbits like you would give me, or somebody? I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world that struggles with sleep.
Yeah. No, there's a couple, and there's some that are really interesting that like are pretty easy to do and don't even think about. You mentioned physical activity, and absolutely trying to get activity, not right before bed, because that can be stimulating, but throughout the day is really helpful for promoting sleep. But one study was really interesting. If you just get natural daylight, sunlight in the first hour of being awake, so whether you go outside or you're by a window and you're just getting natural sunlight, it starts to help reset your circadian rhythms, and you get better sleep from that as well. So, real simple to do is just getting sunlight in that first hour. And then there are foods too that promote sleep. There's certain foods that contain melatonin naturally or help our body to produce more melatonin. That's the hormone that helps to regulate the sleep cycle. One is tart cherries. Tart cherries are more like a sour cherry. You can find them frozen or powdered, or even as a juice. And just one glass of tart cherry juice about 90 minutes before bed can increase sleep quality and quantity in people that suffer from insomnia by as much as an hour to an hour and a half. So that plays a really big role. And same thing.
Called tart juice?
Tart cherry juice. Mm-hmm.
You can buy that?
Yeah. If you go down the juice aisle in the grocery store, look towards the bottom, like the bottom shelf where, we're not right at eye level. That's usually where you'll find the tart cherry juice.
Does it taste terrible?
No, actually, like it's tart, right? So what I like to do is I'll put it in a wine glass with a little bit of seltzer. So it looks like a glass of wine, but it's not. And the seltzer cuts the tartness a bit. So you don't need much, but 4 ounces or so really helps when it comes to sleep. And they also, you can buy even on Amazon, they get the dried tart cherries. So if you want to make a trail mix, like a little bit of tart cherries, you can put some nuts with it, make a little trail mix. That can also help too.
This has been so enlightening for me. I know that our listeners will get a lot from it. Want to add? Tell me. I know we're switching gears, but I'd love to talk about. If you do, you mind talking about your kids?
Oh, and not at all.
Diet with you, since we're talking about diet and lifestyle, and I have a couple other more questions. Can we talk about diet for kids and setting them up for success, and kind of training them and how it relates to your kids?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have 3 children. My oldest is actually, his birthday's tomorrow, and he's going to turn 9. He's a Christmas Eve baby. So
that's awesome. My birthday was just on Wednesday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So he's and then my middle son, he just turned 6 a couple weeks ago, and then my youngest is 3. So you learn a lot feeding kids. So my oldest, I feel like, will try most foods, eats really well. My daughter, the youngest, is also, she's 3, she's a little picky, but she's pretty good. My middle child eats nothing, and I have raised all 3 of them exactly the same. I provide the same food to all of them. He would eat yogurt morning, noon, and night if that's his food of choice. So, as a parent, you have to accept that even if you do all the right things, personality plays a big role, their preferences, every child's different, just like every adult's different. But the big thing is that, understanding our role as a parent versus the role of the child. So we need to provide the food. We need to, choose what's being served, when it's being served, where we're going to eat it. But then it's really up to your child if they're going to eat it or not. So not every child is going to just eat whatever's on their plate, but the more you pressure them, it actually has a reverse impact. It makes it harder. It can make them pickier. So having exposure, modeling what we want them to do, eating the foods in front of them, eating the fruits and vegetables, making sure they're available, you do your best. And sometimes they, surprise you. Every once in a while, they come up and they try a new food. But that's really what it is as frustrating as it is. And as much as we want to say, this is it and eat it, the research shows us that the more pressure around mealtime, the worse it is for picky eating. And if we just model the behaviors, make sure the food is offered, it's available, and then step back and give them the responsibility of choosing how much they're going to eat, that's the best thing we can do long term with improving overall eating habits.
I just love your whole ethos about just trying different things. And it's really simple, but so many people try to put us in a box, and we all just need to kind of figure it out. Like, everybody's different. We need to be extremely patient. We need to be forgiving of ourselves. We need to celebrate the little victories and just continue to try. There's not a one size fits all. And I think that's really, really the goal of this particular podcast. And I don't want to speak for you, but the goal of your message is to, just try certain things, try to look at it. Don't kill yourself if you have, that food that's not great for you. You enjoy it, you want to do it. And that's a common theme that I've had with dietitians who, I've had the benefit of interviewing, multiple dietitians, and they said, don't pull the plug, just, work with yourself. It's like learning a new language.
Absolutely.
And breaking these habits. In closing, we got about a few minutes. I love to ask this, and I know you've got a great CanDo story. What is your biggest CanDo moment, Erin? What are you most proud of? When I say talk about a CanDo moment, you can say anything, but what makes you the most proud? What are you most proud of individually, holistically? When I say what is your biggest CanDo moment, what do you say to me?
Well, that's a really good question. So let's see. So, I think what I'm most proud of, and it's not necessarily one specific moment, but I think my whole life I've always been more of a person that strives for more of a perfectionist, right? So really being hard on myself as far as if this isn't done exactly perfectly, I feel like a failure. And I've worked really hard to get out of that mindset and not have such black and white thinking, and really understand that it's progress, not perfection, and failure actually teaches us to be better, and to really share that mindset with my family and with my clients. And it's a lot of work. It's hard to do that, but I feel like I'm at that place now where, yeah, like I'm happy with good enough. If the food choice wasn't great today, it's fine. It's one day, right? It's not going to make or break my health. And to really get out of that headspace where everything is trying to be perfect, and to embrace the whole idea of we're good enough, and you can do it every day. You do your best, but it doesn't have to be the best. That's what I would say is I'm probably most proud of, because it's not easy to do that.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank you, for that. That's a great reflection. And, so many people strive for perfection. And like you said, you just got to be appreciative and thankful for every day. Again, you kind of touched it in the beginning. How do folks get a hold of you? They want to follow you. I'm moved by what we've talked about today. I'm incredibly grateful. Share with our folks how they can get in touch with you, and things like that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So probably the best way is if you go to my website, which is erinpalinski.com. Right there, you can connect with me. I have a blog with a lot of resources. All my social handles are up there. My email, my office number, all those things are right there, as kind of an umbrella way to connect. Or if you want to connect with me right over on social media, Erin Palinski-Wade on Instagram. So we can connect that way too. But yeah, I would say the website's the easiest way. You can kind of see an umbrella of where you want to connect and what resources are available to you that way.
Great. What are you most looking forward to, Erin, this holiday season?
Just the magic of it. It's so fun with the kids, and it's my son's birthday at the same time, and just seeing family. I feel like especially the last couple of years, we haven't been able to see as much family as we want to. So it's great to just be able to get everybody back together again and just enjoy, I think, just relaxing and enjoying family time and not worrying about all the other stuff. That's what I'm most excited for.
Well, that's awesome. I really enjoyed our time today. I have one question. There's been a lot of talk about, and this is getting back into, I'm just curious for myself, because I Well, tell me about semaglutide. You heard a lot about it. People are using it for kind of a jump start with weight loss. Tell me more about that. I'm trying to educate myself on it and, learn more about it. Is it helpful? What's your take?
Yes, it's not an area that I would say I have a large amount of expertise in. So I don't want to, say one way or another whether it's appropriate for you. I would say that it's one of those things that there isn't yet enough research. And so what I mean by that is things look promising, but without long-term research and long-term studies to know, is it truly helpful long term? It's hard to say. Like if it was just myself, sometimes I could say, okay, maybe I'll try something, see if it's benefiting me. But for the masses and for anybody that has a health condition, we always want to look at large studies over a broad population for a long period of time to say whether or not something is beneficial. So with something like this, I think your best strategy is talk to your individual physician, medical team, see what they think for you. If it's safe for you, sure,
Yep.
you can see if it works for you. And if you're seeing a benefit, typically I always say, give yourself about 1 to 3 months to see if you're noticing a difference. If after that period of time you're not, it's probably not right for you. But if you are and everybody's in alignment that it's benefiting you, then it may be beneficial. But for a general practitioner overview, I would say I'm excited, but I want to see more research before I can make an official judgment.
Right. And that kind of goes in with your whole ethos of, try certain things. If it works, great. If it doesn't, that exactly. So great. Thank you for your feedback on that and so many great topics. Erin, it was awesome to meet you. Thank you so much for your time. Continue success. Another question, and I always riff here. How did you find Keto Krisp?
Oh, well, I'm always looking for snack options that I think are blood sugar friendly, that taste great, that are great for my clients. So just, Google search is always a helpful one. That's really what I do. I Google search stuff all the time. And then when I find something that looks great and exciting, I have to try it. So that's really how I discovered you guys. And I'm glad I did.
Perfect. Well, we really, really appreciate your support. Like I said, thank you so much for coming on and giving me a few minutes of your time. You really helped me and so many of our customers, and happy holidays to you and your entire family. Happy holidays to our listeners out there. And please follow her and check her out. She's got some incredible tidbits, an amazing smile, and a personality that just lights up the room and lights up your life. So Erin, thank you very much again for your time. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Oh, you too. Thank you so much. And happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you too. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.